I'm Brittany, this is Mo Run, and welcome to Gaywatch, where we watch and read gay things. If this is your first time joining this stream, I usually have like a typical opening spiel that like talks about a variety of different things, and I think probably the most important thing in all of that is that there are trigger warnings available down in the description box should you need them. But like this is not going to be the more coherent version of the opening because I have like sprinted to sit down at the moment. So we're a bit harried. We had an unexpected thing happen earlier. That's fine, and everything's fine. It's just the thing about ADHD is that when you're medicated, you're like, oh my god, this is a routine is, but what a routine is. But then something like happens, and even if it knocks off the routine by like just a centimeter, it like all comes a tumbling down. You know what I mean? So we're fine. It's fine. I didn't get to make lunch today. This has a point, I promise. Because of the thing. And I also hit a milestone with the Holanov video essay development today. So I went ahead and ordered lunch. And that means that the deli place that I ordered from has what I call the good tea. It's a very, very lovely tea that like a lot of places they can put different stuff in. So I have this very lovely like peach tea thing happening. And what I mean to say is that I have what I call the good tea for a reading stream today. That should also have the good tea. We are reading volume 11 of Erha today. We are specifically reading, if memory serves, chapters 15 through 18. And Mei Han Shui has been exposed, for lack of a better word, by Mei Han Shui right in front of Shui Meng. So Shui Meng has now just realized who he's been talking to and what has been going on in certain conversations that he probably still doesn't fully grasp the implications of. We get to see that unfold today. So when it's all said and done, I'm very glad that I have the good tea today. We are on page 155 for chapter 15, as I said, which is all part of Shui Meng's blind date adventures. That at this point, if it doesn't end in a three-way, I would be shocked. We are in the middle of classic meat bun hijinks. And I am preparing myself, as Shui Meng should be doing, actually. And I also have a date for you guys for the final Erha stream. So May 7th is the Thursday after we finish. So we'll finish volume 11 and Erha completely and totally. I can't talk about it until then or I'll get emotional, on a Tuesday, on the 5th. And then on the 7th is when we get to have a big blowout Erha chat celebration. I'll read a lot of the author's notes from Meat Bun. I'll give away, dear God, at least one or two things. I know I have a couple of things to give away. And we're just going to sit and chat. And it's going to be all public. So all like YouTube members, patrons, viewers, YouTube, everyone's invited. It'll probably be at 2:30 for a very, very special stream that will go as long as we want to party for. So that's on the 7th. And it kind of doubles a little bit as a 6th anniversary Gaywatch stream because the 6th anniversary for Gaywatch is on May 1st. And so this is happening right around then. So, I mean, if I get to go out at the same time, if I get to have an anniversary at the same time that Erha goes out, yeah, we'll join the parties. Hello? Okay. Nobody move. In fact, we should all be holding hands right now, right at the top. We all have an idea as to what we're in for, so we should all be holding hands. Shui Meng knows that it's Mei Han Shui. we are holding hands in every way except physical. Although honestly, the soul is so powerful that I consider us physically holding hands. What a stream to join if this is your first. Hello. Okay. Standing before the copper mirror, Mei Hanshui eyed his bruised reflection and vented a gusty sigh. Excuse me. We're in Mei Hanshui's POV after something has happened? Shui Meng decking him? Very much on the cards. Shui Meng had been incensed. He'd all but tossed Mei Hanshui into a boiling stew pot, and Mei Hanshui had only managed to flee thanks to Veggie Bun's timely rescue. The cat, loyal to the handsome young hero who'd fed him so many little fish over the past few days, had leapt, yowling, to defend Mei Hanshui from the irate Shui Meng. Mei Hanshui gingerly touched the swelling on his split lip and hissed in pain. "You went a little overboard," he said, brows knitting. "You deserved it," Mei Hanshui said caustically from across the room. "Harassing him like that for your own amusement." "As if you don't do the same," Mei Hanshui said, glaring at his brother through the mirror. "Who's the one always provoking him into a fit? Besides, I was only having some fun with him. We even had a heart-to-heart. He poured out all his worries to me." Excuse me. I subtextually kind of guessed, I suppose, that Mei Hanshui's way of getting at Shui Meng was through the unbelievable gay savage insults. But to have it confirmed like that on the page is something else entirely. That does a whole other thing to my nervous system. "Very effective," came the icy reply. "He looked like he was about to have an aneurysm." "He did, didn't he?" After a moment, Mei Hanshui smiled. "Okay, but hopping mad Shui Meng is just so entertaining. I do want him to be happy, but I just can't help it." He stood, smile widening, and turned, leaning back against the wooden table to eye Mei Hanshui. "I'm just playing around, having a little fun. I'll protect him, of course." When his brother didn't reply, he continued. "See for yourself how much happier he's been over the past few days I've been at Xisheng Peak. He only got mad today. That's 3 days of happiness in exchange for 1 day of anger. I'd say Miss S was pretty successful." Mei Hanshui batted his cat-like green eyes and raised his eyebrows at his brother. "Don't be mad." No more lying to him like that. "Okay, next time I'll find some other way to trick him. I'll bring you along." They're already two-teaming him, is what I've fully realized in this moment. They always have been. This has been a decades-long spit roast. Mei Hanshui's mouth snapped shut, cutting off whatever he'd been about to say. Eventually, he managed an annoyed, "You've caused such a big mess. Go think about what you're going to say to Ma Zhuangzhu. I'm heading to bed." "You don't want to go tease Shui Meng some more? That busted lip from today not enough for you?" Mei Hanshui smacked his lips, then flopped listlessly onto his brother's bed and sighed. "What's the point of living if I can't bother Shui Meng?" Honey? Honey. Oh dear. Mei Hanshui's face went stormy. "Who said you could lie on my bed with your shoes on?" That's a scene break. That was maybe a page and a half of text. We're deeply, deeply in for it. Like I said, the good tea. Tao Estate was truly struggling, and this whole mess had resulted from Shui Meng and Mei Hanshui's actions. Even if they hadn't done it intentionally, they still owed it to Master Ma to take care of it. And so, despite Shui Meng's extreme reluctance, he and the Mei twins mounted their swords and left for West Lake the next morning. They landed at the entrance to Tao Estate, where a massive black cat totem rotated over the gate. Shui Meng stared, stunned, at the spectacle in front of them. Before Tao Estate's impressive gates, adorned with dragons and phoenixes, stood a group of commoners waving red-painted signs as they chanted. Their shouts were uncoordinated, and though they were plenty loud, it was hard to discern what they were saying. But what really made Shui Meng's jaw drop was the line of flashily dressed and heavily made-up women marching around the corner. It seemed all the brothel madams of Linan had stormed the gates. These madams, who in any other circumstances would have leapt at each other's throats on sight, pulling at hair and stomping their feet, were united as they chanted in shrill unison. "Return my leading lady! Return my star! Return my daughters! Return my tea-girls!" This was a type of army the likes of which Shui Meng had never seen. Fearless as he normally was, even he found himself in terror of these women. Mei Hanshui patted his shoulder with a grin. "Never fear. Ladies are made of gentle stuff. They're not going to bite you." As he said it, one of the madams slapped her own considerable bosom with a level of force normally reserved for breaking rocks against chests. The terrifying slap set off a series of jiggling ripples that left Shui Meng flabbergasted. Her gift of description. "Tao Estate must fix this spirit problem," the madam hollered. That's right. Shui Meng, after taking a moment to comprehend what he was seeing, was beginning to pick out the words the crowd of commoners were shouting. "Return my daughter's self-esteem. He called my wife a biscuit. She broke down in tears." "What ridiculousness is this?" Shui Meng said, voice strangled. Mei Hanshui tapped him on the shoulder with his sheathed shofeng. "Follow me to the rear entrance." Still angry, Shui Meng had planned to keep ignoring the twins as long as possible. But with no way to get past the crowd at the front entrance, and seeing how Tao Estate's poor disciples were sweating as they tried to placate the mob, he had little choice but to roll his eyes and trudge alongside the Mei twins toward the rear entrance. Xisheng Peak's sect leader, Shui Meng, and Kunlun Tashui Palace's Mei Hanshui's here to see Ma Zhuangzhu. "Shui Zhengmen! Mie Xianzhang!" The disciple guarding the rear entrance greeted them with teary exclamations. "You're finally here!" "Where's Ma Zhuangzhu?" Shui Meng demanded. "Has he seen that ruckus outside? Shouldn't he be out here trying to keep things under control? Surely he's not hiding out back there." It might have been better if he hadn't said anything. The disciple's eyes and nose began to run, and he practically flung himself at Shui Meng as he sobbed, Ma Zhuangzhu, he..." Shui Meng had never thought highly of Ma Yun. He'd always felt Tao Bao's master was the cowardly sort. He asked again with more urgency, "Surely he didn't drown himself in West Lake?" Mei Hanshui eyed him, but kept his mouth shut. "No," the disciple sobbed. Last night, Ma Zhuangzhu turned into a butterfly and flew away. Speaking of cowardly, he bolted?" Every single action that Ma Yun takes is just funnier and funnier and more in line with the billionaire counterpart commentary. It's truly next level. Yet when they at last stepped into Tao Estate's reception pavilion and caught sight of the unfortunate Master Ma, Shui Meng choked out a strangled, "That's no fucking butterfly!" A tiny little bee buzzed back and forth, up and down, and all around. Shui Meng instinctively raised a hand to smack it, only to be restrained by a frantic Tao Estate elder. Absolutely not, sect leader. If you do that, our estate master will die. Shui Meng had no words. Ma Yun, now a busy little bee, turned a loop through the air before landing firmly in the middle of the red sandalwood table. His beady having a dash in it. It's been changed for a bee pun, all right? And if that's what we're in for, no. See, the problem is Meat Bun just has fun and makes it everyone else's problem. She has fun and we just have to sit here and deal with it. His beady eyes fixed on Shui Meng, as though silently regaling him with his tragic tale. Nope. Shui Meng's voice creaked out of a dry throat. He pointed at the bee. Are you seriously telling me this is Ma Yun? Are you absolutely sure he didn't spin some tale to trick you so he could flee the mob outside? Dead certain, absolutely guaranteed, it's him, the elder said woefully. I watched the estate master turn into a butterfly with my own 2 eyes last night. That's a bee, Shui Meng said. After he turned into a butterfly, he fluttered around Tao Estate, pollinating the flowers, doing what he could. Shui Meng said through gritted teeth, That's a bee. Shui Zhengmen, please look closer. Have you ever seen such a conscientious, wise, and outstanding example of a butterfly? Shui Meng felt like he was about to choke. Not yet, sweetie. You're ahead a little bit. Back up. I'll say it one last time. That's a fucking bee. The estate master dances so gracefully as a butterfly. It's a pity he can't personally welcome the 3 of you, so the duty falls to this humble one, Chen Shuyan. That comes with a footnote. That is a near homophone of Cheng Shuyan, computer programmer, often used in reference to IT support. She thinks she's funny. Elder Chen greets you on behalf of Master Ma. Elder Chen bowed politely. Please allow me to pay my respects. Shui Meng was speechless. He had finally realized this Chen Shuyan had no listening comprehension skills. A Tao Estate disciple brought out tea and pastries, and Shui Meng and the twins spoke with Elder Chen over the food. Master Ma, in bee form, sat docilely on the lid of the teapot, listening. Apparently, as the matching squirrel had absorbed all the turbulent emotions of lovesick men and women across the cultivation realm, it had begun to long to find a partner of its own, one that matched it in every way. After cultivating into human form, this had become its obsession. This in itself shouldn't have been an insurmountable problem. They could have just tossed it a like-minded little fae and let the two make goo-goo-eyes at each other. It was the influence of Shui Meng and Mei Han Shui that made things more complicated. The scroll spirit had become picky to an extreme. It found no one acceptable, whether she was rich or poor, a prized prostitute, or a pauper princess. It called Linan's most beautiful matron too fat, its most charming maiden too coy. The star of the brothel had hairy legs, pauper princess, big stinky feet. With an acid tongue like that, it should have been immediately flattened into a pancake by these young ladies, but it said all these things with Mei Han Shui's unrivaled charm, which was almost an enchantment in itself. The more devastating its insults, the more young ladies in question yearned for its approval. Oh, we gotta have a talk to them. On top of all that, if any of these women already held someone in their hearts, the scroll spirit would take on that person's appearance and collect their precious tears. So, they've essentially been combined into a monster gay, is what I'm hearing. Savage and uninterested in women. After hearing all of this, Shui Meng burst out in righteous indignation. Vile behavior! He turned to Mei Han Shui. Look at the trouble you've caused! Mei Han Shui stared back, flabbergasted. I wonder if that's just a translation thing, or she deliberately used the same word for both that moment Shui Meng witnessing, and then now this moment of Mei Han Shui witnessing. This is full conspiracy theory, but I can't help it at this point. But Elder Chen, Shui Meng asked, why did Ma Duangzhu turn into a bee? Chen Shuyan heaved a long sigh. It's like this. The matching scroll spirit provoked too many of Linan's citizens, from those in the streets and the brothels all the way up to the high officials' daughters. It seems to have a strange effect on women. Those who encounter it began to act totally unlike themselves. For example, Spring Tea House's top courtesan was originally a whip-smart girl with a silver tongue, capable of winning all her patrons' hearts. But once she met the scroll spirit, she became an incredibly blunt blockhead. How so? Previously, on meeting a patron, she would say something like, "My lord, your complexion is so healthy. Looking at your rosy face, I'm certain you'll meet with rosy fortune soon." Or, "Sir, you're so vigorous for your age, you make my legs go weak. Forget 18 concubines. Even if you had 80, you'd keep them busy." Mei Han Shui sputtered a laugh. That's a little over the top. It's what patrons like to hear, Chen Shuyuan sighed. But now she's completely different. When these same patrons show up, she says stuff like, "Slimeball, the space between your brows is dark and your face is choleric. Perhaps you shouldn't come out looking for whores. I fear I'll catch your bad luck." Or, "Old fart, others can go 7 rounds a night, but you come after 7 thrusts. You need to take a hard look at your wrinkly ass in the mirror. Aren't you ashamed to be whoring at your ripe old age?" Shui Meng and Mei Han Shui were both speechless. Mei Han Shui, on the other hand, burst into laughter. Did the brothel have to shut down? It got torn down. And this isn't even the worst of the troubles that have befallen Tao Estate. Chen Shuyuan let out another long, suffering sigh. Our estate master went to investigate and found that all these ladies had undergone severe personality changes. Girls previously too shy to even leave the house now went streaking naked through the streets. Beautiful, charming girls suddenly started using a mirror to draw chest hair on themselves to try and evoke masculine swagger. We don't have time to unpack that when it comes to Shui Meng. There were even girls who once cooed over rabbits and said they were too cute to eat, now ordering 5 rabbit heads and 5 duck heads and another 5 turtle heads on the side. His words were met with stunned silence. As Chen Shuyuan gave one example after another, he seemed to grow more and more distressed. He dropped his face into his hands as he concluded, "We had to do something. So Ma Zhuangzhu, he went to subdue the spirit? No, that kind of violent method won't work on the matching scroll spirit. Firstly, it's not evil. It's just a bit touched in the head." Clocking them both in one fell swoop without even realizing it. It never took any lives. Secondly, our estate master learned that the matching scroll spirit would self-destruct if it was subdued by force. We don't have time to unpack that either. In doing so, it would take all the information anybody had ever shared with it, that is, with any of the scrolls it had split its consciousness into, and release it across the whole cultivation realm. These are people's deepest secrets, told in confidence. To have them leaked would be a disaster for Tao Estate's reputation. That's the equivalent of like every prostitute's texts getting released. Careers and lives and marriages and families and all kinds of shit. Massive repercussions. Mei Han Shui shook his head. Not only that, it would create chaos even outside the cultivation realm. For example, who knows if there were any married scroll users out there who said any nasty things about their spouses behind their backs? Mei Han Shui knows the tea. Shui Meng's head was beginning to ache. So what did Ma Yun do? Ma Duangzhu arranged a date with the matching scroll spirit. He went to meet it disguised as a woman, thinking to seduce it and convince it to turn away from darkness. After a long moment, Shui Meng managed to say, "Ma Yun used himself as a honeypot?" His mouth twitched. "Does Tao Estate have no mirrors? Xisheng Peak would be happy to donate a few. you want you want to woo! You want to talk about gay savagery? the little bee seemed stung by his words and began to buzz around Shui Meng's head angrily. Chen Shuyuan, watching the bee, said, somewhat embarrassed, though our Ma Zhuangzhu is handsome and heroic, he knew the matching scroll spirit was finicky, so not only did he disguise himself as a girl, he also bought some narcotic incense. This incense is, a rather scandalous item. Breathing it in for 10 minutes will intoxicate a person to the point that even a sow would appear as a heavenly goddess in their eyes. That could be taken in one of two ways. It's either an incense that puts on rosy colored glasses in a sense, or it's a powder that makes you so physically that you no longer care about like who or you see what you picking up what I'm putting down? You know what I mean. The bee's buzzing grew louder. So what? Shui Meng asked. Did the incense fail? That bastard Jeng Xi sold you subpar goods? No, that's not it. Chu Shiyuan's mortification grew, and his next words came out in a stammer. Well, the matching scroll spirit took one look at Mistress Ma, made a retching sound, and left with a shake of its sleeves. It didn't stay in the room long enough. It took all Shui Meng's effort to suppress his laughter as he listened to this woeful account. You know what's killing me about this? Just through the way that Mei Han Shui and Shui Meng are receiving and responding to this story alone, this by itself is somehow really telling you how alike they are. And like, you see the compatibility. Diabolical she is. As he held his breath, an amused ha escaped Mei Han Shui beside him. He turned to glare at him. No laughing, this is serious. The girls who were rejected by the matching scroll spirit all had their personalities flipped, but it seems that if the suitor rejected is a man, he turns into an animal. Che Shuyuan cast a wretched glance at the buzzing Master Ma. The elders of Tao Estate have been trying everything since last night, to no avail. We had no choice but to send our disciples out to seek help. Help? A feeling of deep foreboding came over Shui Meng. From whom? A disciple entered the reception pavilion at that moment and announced, the medicine master, Zhang Junmen of Guyueya, has arrived. That's the end of the chapter. Dad's here. We don't... Are we ready yet to talk to Dad? I'm speaking to Shui Meng here. Are we ready for that? Considering the last time we talked to Dad, have we really gotten enough distance between those events? You know, we're on we're on page 165 for chapter 16. Jeng Xi arrived with an entourage of Guyueya cultivators, his usual haughty, supercilious self. His pale green robes trailed behind him, their silver hems rippling over the floor. The silver was silk thread, the green extracted from the feathers of a spiritual kingfisher bird. Over this finery he had draped a delicate cloak of lustrous, pale gold silk. His expensive clothes always seemed to say, I'm loaded, want a piece of me? But of course, No one could manage to put their hands on him. That handsome face seemed to taunt. You want to fuck me? I know you do. But of course, no one could manage to get him into bed. The instant this arrogant, untouchable beauty walked in, Tao Estate's disciples cupped their hands in respectful greeting. Welcome, Jeng Zhongmen. Good to see you, Jeng Zhenju. The Mei twins said in unison. Shuimeng crossed his arms and turned aside with a derisive snort. The Taobao disciples around him paled in fright. Taobao Estate had regular dealings with Guyue, and they knew Jeng Xi's volatile temper. Yet Shuimeng, as Jeng Xi's junior, had the gall to disrespect sect leader Jeng so openly. The whole group broke out in a cold sweat. Sect leader Jeng was surely about to reward Shuimeng with some grisly punishment. Would it be an arse-kicking or a cup of arsenic wine? But to everyone's surprise, Jeng Xi's gaze only paused on Shuimeng for a moment, before silently shifting away. Shuimeng blinked, taken aback. He'd gotten into so many arguments with Jeng Xi that riling him up had become a habit. Seeing Jeng Xi barely spare him a glance, Shuimeng's eyes widened. He cleared his throat, readjusted his pose, and made an even louder and more obnoxious humph. Oh, sweetie. He's like, can we fall back into the old roles where, I kind of piss you off and you kind of hate me or resent me and all? Can we go back to that? And I don't think Jeng Xi is ready for that yet. He's like, I just need a little bit more time not looking at you. And that's real hard right now. Much to his shock, Jeng Xi ignored him again. He surveyed the room, then zeroed in on Elder Chen. Where's Ma Fengjie? Before Elder Chen could reply, Shuimeng let out an angry snort. As Elder Chen looked on in confusion, Jeng Xi's almond eyes, misty and cool, flicked over to Shuimeng. Shui Zhongmen, are you congested? Shuimeng sputtered. Just snort again if you are. I have several remedies that could help you. You! Shuimeng cried. You! I have remedies for stuttering, too, Jeng Xi said impassively. Taobao Estate's disciples were thunderstruck. There existed someone who could snort at Jeng Xi 3 times and avoid getting beaten to death. Not only that, he'd received sect leader Jeng's attentive concern and well wishes in return. Even Mei Hanshui looked back and forth between Shuimeng and Jeng Xi, intrigued, and the furrow between his pale golden brows grew deeper. Oh God, that's right! I was just violently reminded of the misconception that's currently going on with the maze. Where that knocked me full off. Okay. Several Smile Squad disciples who'd flocked in after Jeng Xi to watch the show whispered excitedly to each other outside the pavilion. Oh, Miss A exclaimed. Jeng Zhongmen is so caring. The rumors are true. It's just like the tyrant cultivator's good little wife. No way, cried Miss B. It's clearly more like the years I spent in a cultivator's bed. Are you all blind? Asked Miss C. None of you saw the look on Mei Shanzhong's face. Mei Shanzhong looks so gloomy. I seriously recommend you read a book that's sold at the Tea Tree Mushroom Bookstore on the Eastern Market. Twin Plum Blossoms Play with the Pig. Mrs. A and B snapped in unison. How dare you call Shui Zhongmen a pig? The subjects of this debate were thankfully out of earshot. Shuimeng was so furious he was about to blow his top. He was only stopped from charging forward by Mei Hanshui stepping into his path. Shuimeng's eyes went wide with fury. You're on his side? Laughing, Mei Hanshui... Hang on, I just blue screened a little bit. Laughing, Mei Han Shui cupped Shui Meng's face in his hands. You're so mad. Look how red your face is. Sit down and have some green tea. It'll cancel out the redness. Jeng Xi cast a cool glance in their direction. To everyone else, Zhang Yichen was the leader of the cultivation world, with all the attendant status and power. Precocious as he was, Shui Meng couldn't even measure up to Guiye's pinky finger. Mei Han Shui was obviously trying to help Shui Meng by persuading him against letting his temper get the better of him, though Shui Meng seemed unable to appreciate his good intentions. Jeng Xi sighed inwardly and turned away from the two raucous children. Grim-faced, he curtly asked Chen Shuyuan, "Where's Ma Fengzhe? He hasn't even come out to greet me." His withering look sent a shiver down Elder Chen's spine. He had the strange feeling that he was about to be crushed beneath a ton of gold falling onto his face. He hurried to explain, No. Our estate master doesn't mean to slight you. Unfortunately, he is terribly indisposed. How sick can he be?" Jeng Xi asked, impatient. "He can't even get out of bed." "No, the sect leader was hit by a curse. He turned into a butterfly and flew away." The contingent from Guiye fell silent. Jeng Xi's anger seemed to get the better of him. He narrowed his eyes, smoke and sparks practically issuing from his thin lips as he said, mockingly, "Buddy, have you been reading too much of the legend of the Imperial Harem's fragrant concubine?" "No, but I'm intrigued." Chen Shuan quailed beneath Jeng Xi's glare, his head practically shriveling back into his neck. Sect leader Zhang was probably about to toss him into the furnace and turn him into immortality pills. His thoughts whirred a mile a minute as he searched for some common ground with sect leader Zhang, anything to save his own skin. Inspiration struck, and Chen Shuan blurted, Zhengmen, please don't kill me. As a fellow fan of the legend of the Imperial Harem's fragrant concubine, spare my life." A hush descended over the hall. Most of the onlookers hadn't noticed the implication of Zheng Xi's words, but now that Chen Shuan had brought their attention to it, a shocking revelation hit them. Indeed, if Zheng Xi hadn't read the legend of the Imperial Harem's fragrant concubine, how would he know there was a part where the concubine transformed into a butterfly and fluttered off? So these were the kinds of stories sect leader Zhang liked to read. Jeng Xi grabbed Chen Shuan by the collar and glared at him for a moment before abruptly shoving him away. He gave a clipped command. "Cut out his tongue, immediately." "Yes, sir," cried a Guiye lackey. "Estate master," Chen Shuan screeched, "help! Save me!" Just as the situation was about to devolve into total chaos. Like we hadn't achieved that yet? We're not yet in total chaos? Are we sure? Have we checked? The little bee perched on the teapot bravely flew forth. He buzzed back and forth in circles before Zhang Yichen. Jeng Xi scowled in annoyance. "Where'd this fly come from? Kill it." "Yes, sir," the Guiye lackey responded. Shui Meng had had his fill of Zheng Xi's imperious attitude. Swatting Mei Han Shui away, he hollered at Zheng Xi, "Stop!" He pointed at the bee. "This is my yun. If you don't believe me, just watch him dance for you." Fighting for his life, the poor little bee landed on the table and flapped his wings side to side, then shimmied upward with his eyes closed. Zheng Xi stared. "Now you believe it, don't you?" Shui Meng said irritably. "You were asked to come save lives, but instead you barge in here calling for murder. Could you try being useful now?" Jeng Xi watched the bee a moment longer. "This is a butterfly? Oh my god, it's literally the fucking meme. Isn't that like the second time I've invoked the butterfly meme? And this is embarrassing because I should have gotten here a lot sooner. Chen Shuyuan brought a hand to his throat where Zhang Xi had choked him, coughing. "Yes," he stammered fearfully. Snapping his sleeves, Jeng Xi turned to his attendant. Treat Chen Shuan's eyes first, he ordered, his face like a thundercloud. Huh? Chen Shuan squeaked. Then we'll see about lifting Ma Zhuangju's curse, Jeng Xi continued. Yes, sir, the Guigueya lackey cried. After a thorough examination, Guigueya's disciples gave Master Ma an unsurprising diagnosis. He'd been cursed by the scroll spirit and turned into a brave and hard-working little bee. The opposite of what he usually is. I see you, Miban. Luckily, the curse wasn't permanent. After 5 days, Ma Yun should recover his human form and be free to pick away at his beloved abacus once more. Clutching his newly prescribed eye medication, Chen Shuyuan asked nervously, Do we have to wait 5 days? Isn't there any medicine that could help the estate master? There is, but there's no point. Why not? Because it would take 6 days to refine the medicine, Jeng Xi answered. Yeah. It seemed that, unfortunately, Master Ma had no choice but to remain a bee for 5 humiliating days. After completing the diagnosis and determining treatment, Jeng Xi had finished his duties, but he had no intention of leaving. He turned to Shui Meng. I told you not to touch Ma Fengzhe's trinkets, but you didn't listen. Now look at the mess you've gotten us into. It's none of your business. It has very much become my business, Jeng Xi said tonelessly. I mean, it kind of became your business when you were in... You, Shui Meng growled. You have to nitpick everything I do. I said this is my business, not yours. Is that so hard to understand? Get out of my face already and leave. Jeng Xi threw him a sidelong, scornful glance. Delusion is a disease. You'd better get yourself checked out. You know, every now and then, Jeng Xi sounds like the kind of kid I went to middle school with. You know? Like, sick burn. You know what I mean? Shui Meng blinked at him. Anyway, I'm not here to see you, said Jeng Xi. I said it's my business because the scroll spirit has made its way to Yangzhou. You are the least of my concerns. Shui Meng was so incensed he stamped his feet. You're mocking me! No one's mocking you. The scroll spirit found no beauties to its taste in Linan, so yesterday it appeared in Guiyue's territory. Jeng Xi flicked his sleeves, expression frosty, and said darkly, Did you think I'd care whether Ma Fengzhe lives or dies otherwise? His lackey piped up. That's right. You don't even know how sorely Jiang Zhenju's expertise is needed. Last night, the spirit pretended to be the sect leader and went to Yangzhou's pleasure district. It slept with 8 courtesans and promised all of them that they'd become the wives of Guiyue's sect leader. God, it's just one bomb after another. Oh my God, good tea indeed. At Shui Meng's silence, the lackey continued. This morning, the sect leader went out as usual, only to be surrounded by a crowd of pouting women in the middle of the street. They called him husband in front of a bunch of Yangzhou commoners. Oh, Shui Zhongmen, you should have seen Zheng Zhongmen. He was so mad, his face was, Are you done? Shut up, Jeng Xi snapped. The lackey flinched and shrank back meekly. Mei Honshui, lashes downcast, couldn't help chuckling softly. Jeng Xi shot him a glare like a cold dagger, then turned back to Shui Meng. Regardless, I'll take care of this matter. No need for you to trouble yourself any longer. As soon as Chen Shuyuan heard Jeng Xi planned to personally dispatch the scroll spirit, he blurted out in horror, Zheng Zhenju, you mustn't subdue the spirit by force, otherwise the whole cultivation world's secrets will be revealed. Jeng Xi's plan had been to extend an invitation to the scroll spirit that night, knock it out with medicinal powder, then smash it to smithereens. At this, he frowned. What secrets? Surely it's only overheard some casual chit-chat. More than that, said Chen Shuyuan. Every cultivator who used the matching scroll had to first complete a survey. If the scroll spirit breaks, all that information will become public. Fuck me, what was in that survey? Shit. Oh, Shuimeng filled it out. Like, aside from, like, standard stuff, I feel like there was at least one or two things in there that were, like, you know? Oh, God. Oh, I can't remember. Zurium likens it to a data breach on Tinder. That's exactly what it would be. Thank you. He hesitated, then reminded Jeng Xi in a small voice, If you ever used it, you'll have answered those questions as well. God, that's right. Jeng Xi was a busy and important man, and thus prone to forget trivial details. He pondered for a long moment, head cocked, before remembering what Elder Chen was talking about. Indeed, the scroll had asked him some very personal, very fucked up questions. Good! We're getting some examples. We're getting examples. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All of this in italics. Are you in love with anyone? Why not? I mean, that question alone. Do you have any children? Why? Was it an unplanned pregnancy? If you don't like kids, why did you go through with having the child? Did your husband abandon you? Shenzhen, no need to... Oh, excuse me. That's right. There was a whole scroll voice. Excuse me. No need to use that kind of language. The scroll is only trying to express its love and care for you. Considering your situation, we recommend another Tao Estate product, Golden Jubilee. Every week, this device will introduce single mothers like yourself to 3 to 5 accomplished yet lonely cultivators. We hope you'll soon find yourself in a happy second marriage. Maddie brings up an excellent point that Taisha and June had to fill this out. Great. Now that unpleasant experience was at the forefront of his mind again, Jeng Xi's face darkened. Not on pain of death would he allow these answers to be made known to the public. He stroked his chin, glowering as he mused over what other methods might allow him to subdue the scroll spirit. Jiang Zhenju. Mei Hanshui's polite voice broke through his thoughts. Shui Zhengmin and I are partially responsible for this situation. Given your esteemed status and the respect you're owed as our senior, I ask that you leave it to the two of us to address in a gentler fashion. This undertaking wouldn't suit you. Jeng Xi had no idea what he meant by a gentler fashion, but when he heard the words would not suit you, he fixed his almond eyes on Mei Hanshui. What do you plan to do? I think they're going to try to fuck the scroll. I think that's. Uh-huh. Ah! Mei Hanshui grinned. We'll follow Ma Zhongzhu's example and seduce it, disguised as women. Jeng Xi assessed Mei Hanshui. Although he didn't understand why these youngsters were so eager to put on dresses, he was ready to wash his hands of the matter. Just as he was about to say, well then, best of luck, and leave it at that, Mei Hanshui added with a laugh, putting makeup on Shui Zhengmen shouldn't be too hard. Jeng Xi's eyes widened. Shui Meng's eyes, too, were round as saucers. What? He exclaimed. You want me to dress up as a woman to seduce the scroll spirit? Mei Hanshui didn't deny it. Yep, he answered cheerfully. Why don't you do it? Shui Meng snapped. Who said I wasn't? If all three of us go, at least one of us is bound to catch its eye. And besides, Jeng Xi grimly cut him off. Enough. The Mei twins and Shui Meng turned to stare at him. Jeng Xi's demeanor emanated a terrifying chill. His face looked like it had been carved from ice as he gazed at Shui Meng, then said coldly to Mei Han Shui, "He's the unsuitable one. Allow me." What? What? Wait, what? What is, I'm genuine. Hang on. That's the end of the chapter. Hang on. Let me, let me gauge the, okay, this is a short chapter. So, we'll read chapter 17 before we do the break. Hold, please. We're just going to go right. We're on page 175 for chapter 17. Hang on. No one believed for a moment that Jeng Xi could convincingly pass as a woman. In fact, most suspected Jeng Xi's knowledge of women was entirely superficial and ideally gotten at a considerable distance from one. Elder Chen hurried over. "Jeng Xinchu, are you aware of the aspects in which women typically differ from you?" he asked tentatively. That's Chen's best line in the whole thing. That's his best line. That's hands down his best line. Of course I am, Jeng Xi replied. Ah, Elder Chen was admittedly astonished. "I just thought you might have never touched a woman before." That comes a close second. Whew. "Says who?" Jeng Xi said flatly. Terrified he might bring up Madame Wang as an example, Shui Meng shot to his feet, ready to cut him off. But Jeng Xi continued, "If a man's life is lost, his skin and flesh yet remain. While alive, one may gain information via external examination. After death, dissection may reveal further insight." That comes with a footnote. Quote from the Spiritual Pivot in The Yellow Emperor's Inner Canon, a classic text of Chinese medicine from around the Han Dynasty. Elder Chen was stupefied. "What does that mean?" Our sect leader means he's dissected female corpses before," one of Gu Yue's disciples explained. Yikes. These medicine masters were truly terrifying. Elder Chen stammered for a long time before squeaking out, So may we assume Jeng Xinchu is familiar with the physical characteristics of women?" Jeng Xi looked at him, bored, then rattled off some facts about the fair sex. Small frame, high voice, soft skin, curvy body, possessing a vulva, ovaries, and other specialized reproductive organs. Silence. Jeng Xi fixed the elder with a confident, careless gaze. "If you're curious, I've authored a book called Gu Yue's Medications for Women. It's illustrated. I can lend you a copy." Mei Han Shui covered his mouth. Shui Meng and Mei Han Shui looked on, aghast. After a moment, Elder Chen brought a hand up to knead at his forehead. This cold-blooded eccentric was going to dress up as a beautiful woman to bamboozle the scroll spirit. "We're done for," he groaned. "We're so fucking done for." How was Jeng Yichen supposed to pretend to be a lady cultivator with this kind of knowledge? Was he going to dissect himself, or what? Night had fallen, yet Tao Estate remained brightly lit, the air filled with the tinkling of wind chimes. Jeng Yichen was sitting in a side room, ready for his mission. In keeping with Ma Yun's plan, sect leader Jiang had lit a narcotic incense within the room while he waited in his female disguise for the scroll spirit to show up. As long as the scroll spirit remained within the room for about 10 minutes, their plan would succeed. The spirit would lose all reason and fall in love with any living thing in front of it, even a sow. At that point, the cultivators could easily subdue it. Thank you for that clarification on what exactly this incense does. Tao Estate's disciples had set up camp in the shadows, hiding so as not to alarm the scroll spirit when it arrived. In the end, sect leader Jiang hadn't personally compose the invitation for the scroll spirit. This turned out to be far beyond his capabilities. After pondering for an age, all he'd managed to scrawl was a ferocious-looking "come here," so brusque and intimidating it may as well have read "run away." Luckily, Tao Estate's Smile Squad specialized in writing such messages. They'd quickly composed a friendly and welcoming invitation to replace Jeng Xi's, thereby salvaging the mission. As Shui Meng watched from a dark corner wedged behind a haystack, he asked Mei Han Shui uneasily, "Nothing bad will happen, right? No one checked Jeng Xi after he was done dressing up. Do you think he even knows what makeup's for? Does he actually know how to cross-dress?" "Questions you have to ask about your bio, Dad." Mei Han Shui's answer offered no comfort whatsoever. "I doubt it." Shui Meng swallowed, more nervous by the minute. "I think I'll go check on him. As Shui Meng started to stand up, Mei Han Shui shoved him back down. "Shh." He gestured behind Shui Meng. "It's here." Under the light of the moon, the scroll spirit had appeared in a hooded cloak. Flower petals and butterflies fluttered around it. It seemed to be mimicking Tashui Palace's techniques. The spirit ambled forward, apparently in no hurry. Though its face was obscured by its hood, its gait suggested it wasn't especially sharp. The faint melody of a bamboo flute drifted out of Jeng Xi's room. The scroll spirit stopped and listened for a while. Perhaps it figured a woman who knew how to blow on a flute would be proficient at other types of blowing as well. It strolled up to the door and knocked softly. "Miss, I hope I'm not interrupting." Jeng Xi ignored the knocks. Noticing that the door was unlocked, the scroll spirit dropped the pretense of politeness. "Then if the lady doesn't mind, I'll invite myself in." There was still no answer from Jeng Xi. Shui Meng muttered under his breath, "Why does its voice sound so familiar?" In the room, the scroll spirit had pushed the door open and gone in. The flute melody finally ceased. Uneasy as he was, Shui Meng reminded himself that Zheng Yichen just had to get through 10 minutes. As long as the spirit stayed that long, the incense would addle its mind and they'd be able to subdue it in one fell bang! "What's going on?" Shui Meng cried. "It's only been a minute. Don't tell me the scroll spirit threw up when it saw Jeng Xi too." As the incredulous crowd looked on, the glow of an unsheathed holy weapon filled the courtyard, revealing the door thrown off its hinges and the table kicked to the ground. The spirit's cloaked figure hovered suspended in midair. This time, the spirit didn't let out a retching sound, but rather a shrill scream. It fell to the ground with a crash. "Oh," the scroll spirit whimpered weakly. "Ow, ow, ow, it hurts so bad." Jeng Yichen lunged forward with his sword drawn, clearly out for blood. Mei Han Shui blinked, eyes round with astonishment, then turned to Mei Han Shui. "Am I blind? Where's his costume?" "You're not blind," said Mei Han Shui, looking impassively at Jeng Xi. "He didn't even try." "He did!" Shui Meng piped up. Both twins raised their eyebrows. "How?" asked Mei Han Shui. Shui Meng pointed at Jeng Xi's wrist. "See, he's wearing a white jade bracelet. That's women's jewelry." The twins fell silent. After a beat, Mei Han Shui laughed. "I see Shui Jungmen understands the art of cross-dressing as well." He's the same as Jiang Yichen," Mei Han Shui said flatly. "They think making themselves up as a woman is equivalent to dabbing on some lip color." He said from experience. Shui Meng blinked at him, bewildered. "Is it not?" Mei Han Shui didn't dignify the question with a response. It was unclear what had happened between Jeng Xi and the scroll spirit next door, but Jeng Xi's face was a rictus of fury. The holy weapon, Shui Huang, blazed a scintillating silver in his hand, vibrating with an audible hum. Jeng Xi hauled the cowering scroll spirit from the ground. "Gorgeous! What are you so mad for?" the scroll spirit cried. "How could you bear to injure this charming face of mine?" "I'll kill you," Jeng Xi thundered. As they tussled, the scroll spirit's hooded cloak slid back, revealing its face. The crowd was instantly dumbstruck. Truly, this scroll spirit was asking for death. The fact that it had taken Jeng Xi's form to visit prostitutes in Yangzhou the night before it had left the sect leader enraged. Perhaps the spirit had found that women were especially taken with sect leader Zhang's face. for it had once again donned his appearance for tonight's assignation. Can you imagine watching yourself enter a room to seduce you? The spirit wasn't intelligent enough to realize that the person it was trying to fool was none other than the model himself. Also, if Jeng Xi wasn't actually dressed up as a woman, and the spirit scroll still made a move, you see where I'm going with this? Everyone could now guess what had happened. Jeng Xi had watched himself stroll into the room with an unctuous smile, striking a pose and purring, "Hey there, little miss." God, I hope he didn't purr that. Maybe the spirit had even batted its lashes seductively at him. No wonder he was furious. He looked like he might eat the scroll spirit alive. That would just start a whole other host of rumors. Seeing that Jeng Xi was on the verge of executing the scroll spirit, Tao Estate's disciples swarmed out of the shadows, scrambling to dissuade him. "Wait! Jeng Sunju, if you hit it, everyone's secrets will get leaked. Please calm down, Jeng Sunju." "Please don't, Jeng Xi." I want to know. Well, I want to know everything. I would love to know like the full breadth of the tea, like absolutely. But I also want to know like any relevant tea there might be flying around. You know what I'm saying? The scroll spirit seemed to be slow in the head, but its movements were surprisingly nimble. Realizing the situation was devolving, it squirmed away from Jeng Xi and scuttled into the darkness. It stayed in character to the last, yelling over its shoulder as it ran, "I, Zhang Yuchen of Guiyue, will be back!" Jeng Xi's face was so contorted with fury that his straight, perfect nose was beginning to look crooked. He'd never flee from a fight so disgracefully. Unthinkable. "Impudent bastard," Jeng Xi thundered. Jeng Zhengmen, the crowd of disciples chanted desperately. "I'll tell you what'll happen if you dare use my face again." Jeng Zhengju, the chorus continued. "I'll smite you with epilepsy, strangery? I've actually never seen that word before. Hysteria, epistaxis." Ooh, this word's broken up. Hang on. Metapism? Never heard of that either. Scrotal gangrene. I'm familiar with at least both of those words. And the 4 afflictions of palsy, consumption, dropsy, diaphragmatic paresis. Oh, that I get just right off the cuff. Lord. No one could understand the string of medical jargon that came after. The crowd's exhortations grew increasingly urgent. Only Shuimeng took his words at face value. "What are these 4 afflictions?" "I'm guessing they must be major ailments listed in medical textbooks," Mei Hanshui answered. At Shuimeng's uncomprehending expression, Mei Hanshui added from the other side, "He's just saying he wants it to die an incredibly painful and gruesome death." Shuimeng's face twitched. He thought this was overly cruel of Jeng Xi, but after a moment, he turned back to watch the scene without a word. The crowd of Smile Squad disciples continued their chorus. Enough. Sect leader, please calm down. Relax. But Jeng Xi's temper wasn't so easily soothed. Sect leader Jeng was never possessed of much patience, and the months he'd spent bedridden had left him more irascible than before. Plus, the scroll spirit was using Jeng Xi's own face to perpetuate such unthinkable deeds. He had been pushed to his limit and was unable to regain his composure. A flash of jade-green light cut through the chaos. The startled disciples ducked out of the way. Zhang Yuchen stumbled, then fell to his knees. Everyone exchanged reproachful glances. Heavens above, why didn't you catch Zhang Zhongmen? You were clearly closest to him. How's it my fault? What was that green light? The little bee, that was Master Ma, buzzed over. Elder Chen Shuan froze, his face draining of color. He clapped a hand to his bald head. "Oh no, this is bad," he cried. "Zheng Zhenju also failed to apprehend the scroll spirit. He'll be cursed too. He's going to turn into an animal." Oh my god, that's right. Shuimeng leapt out of the haystack he'd been hiding within. What? That's the end of that chapter. The dizzying hijinks continue as we land on page 183 for chapter 18 when we come back from the break. Everybody take a breather. Everybody slow down. There's a lot. There is a lot happening in very rapid succession. So we're just going to pause in the middle of the chaos before Jeng Xi turns into an animal or insect, apparently. And we're just gonna let let everything catch up in our brains. We're gonna process for a second. I am going to go finish my lunch really quickly, and then I'll be back for, dear God, what animal could he possibly become? I'll have to make that the poll. I'll think about it for a second, and I'll make that the poll. You know, give the stream a like if you have laughed. And I'll be back in just a few minutes with whatever Jeng Xi turns into. Welcome back to Erha. Uh, well, according to the poll, most of you think that he's about to turn into a mammal. And I ultimately agree. If we have to go in the opposite direction, it's probably going to be like the fluffiest, sweetest little like baby something. Not necessarily a rabbit, because rabbits are actually pretty high strung, but like something like a little baby sloth or something. Like something truly fluffy, harmless. Just harmless. Or, and this is where I wish that the YouTube polls could have more than 4 selections, or like a baby bird. You know? Like something truly adorably weak. And also, I kind of thought aquatic would be funny, because then it would turn like a goldfish or something, because then it would turn into like, oh my god, get water, and like all of that. That would be funny. But I do think it will probably be something fluffy. We are on page 183 for chapter 18. Really quick before I start reading, I had a real moment in my head. I think like literally, it was yesterday, it was last night. I'm playing this great little typing game. It's called Epistory, and it's legit. It's like an RPG, like dungeon crawly thing, but all centered on typing and different abilities on typing and everything. Sounds super fucking nerdy, but like if you're low-key into D&D and like fairy tales and stuff, I'm telling you, it's great. Anyway, so you have these all types of short words, long words, all these things attacking you, and you have to type in all that stuff. If you want to affect the environment, you have to type things. And there were these lights that you could turn on by typing a couple of letters. And to remember like what they were as they were typing, I was pronouncing them in my head, right? And there was one that was QI. And I've been reading enough danmei now that I pronounced that chi in my head. That's a red letter moment for me. I legitimately did that more than once. So I have turned a corner when it comes to reading and absorbing Chinese media. So, Tao Estate's disciples stood in the moonlight, respectfully facing the steps of the hall. On those steps was perched a little bee. Beside it sat an ethereal bird with pearly white plumage. It was difficult to say what kind of bird it was. It appeared to be a cross between a crane, a phoenix, and a peacock. She's laughing at us all. God, I wish they had 5 options on the YouTube poll. I would have put avian. God damn it. That was because the bird was Jeng Xi. As a bird, he was long-necked and regal, with bright, sharp eyes. His neat feathers glimmered with a silvery, iridescent sheen, as if touched by the first frost of winter. The only spots of color to be seen on his plumage were the faded indigo tips of his tail feathers. Kinda looks like the robes Zheng Zhengmen was wearing, someone muttered in the crowd. What beautiful feathers, a lady cultivator murmured. I wouldn't mind plucking one for myself. Shuimeng, honest child that he was, looked solemnly at Zheng Yichen and asked a most heartfelt question. What kind of chicken are you? In return, he received Zheng Yichen's murderous, ice-cold stare. Or are you a duck? Had it been anyone else, they'd have been dead on the spot. But Zheng Xi seemed to be powerless when it came to Shuimeng. He threw him another withering glare, then spread his gleaming wings. He was done with these idiots. Silent wing beats carried him into the air, and he soared out of Tao Estate and vanished. It seemed he had no plans to return. Well, not for a few days. In fact, Perhaps he'd never come back to Tao Estate for the rest of his life. Everyone turned reverent gazes upon Shui Ziming, as if he were a great hero. Shui Meng was confused. He's gonna fly all the way back to Guyue like that? The lady cultivator who'd wanted to pluck the sect leader's feathers was still starry-eyed. Jeng Zhongmin is so beautiful. He left behind little motes of silver light when he flew away. That's probably the train of from That's probably from the train of his robes, said her sect sister. Didn't you see how Jeng Zhongmin's robes trailed behind him? Hey, do you think he ever trips over himself? Certainly. Two Guyue flunkies couldn't take the chit-chat any longer. They knew their sect leader's personality too well. You were all expressly forbidden from telling anyone about tonight's events, they said sternly. Otherwise, next time you get sick, don't even think of coming to Guyue. You're on your own. Jeng Yuchen's entourage swept noisily out of Tao Estate, following their leader back to the sect in Yangzhou. No one had expected that even sect leader Jang, head of the foremost sect in the cultivation realm, would fall to the squirrel spirit. Although the spirit hadn't brought any serious harm upon him, there were precious few individuals in the world who'd managed to shame him so. Those left behind grew increasingly anxious. Of the leaders of the 9 great sects, both Ma Yun and Jeng Xi had been defeated. Both were highly skilled in their own areas. Neither was a lightweight. Now, could the juniors Shui Meng and the Mei twins truly manage to subdue the scroll spirit? Everyone was on tenterhooks. I also had the thought that, you know what she could do? Keep in mind, I have no idea what the other long short story is even about, so this could very easily be wrong. But I wouldn't put it past her to not let Shui Meng have it in this story, only for him to receive it somehow in the other one. She's crafty like that. Despondence settled over the Tao Estate party like a dark cloud. Even the little bee that was Master Ma seemed to wilt, his wings drooping. Mei Honshui, who'd gone to look through the things Jeng Xi had left behind in the room, suddenly laughed aloud. Shui Meng turned to eye him. You seem to be in a good mood. What are you laughing at? Come here, take a look at this. Curiosity and stubbornness warred in Shui Meng. Curiosity won. He leaned over. Green eyes sparkling, Mei Honshui held up a slip of paper. I've never seen this method of cross-dressing before. Zheng Zhenju is quite fascinating. What is this? How do you use a piece of paper to cross-dress? Baffled, Shui Meng snatched the slip out of Mei Honshui's hand. I'm too excited. A single glance rendered him speechless. Really? What was this? Shui Meng recognized the paper as one of Yue's prescription slips. On it, Jeng Xi had written in flamboyant calligraphy, hereby certifying that this person is female. Signed, medicine master and sect leader of Guyue, Jeng Xi. An oddly advanced move, if you think about it. The bright red seal of the sect leader was affixed below. Watching Shui Meng's mouth fall open, Mei Honshui held in his laughter until his ribs ached fit to break. Fucking hell. Shui Meng's knuckles went white as he crushed the prescription, looking like he'd reached the end of his rope. Is Jeng Yuchen a pig or what? A bird, actually. Giggling, Mei Honshui held a long finger to his lips, signaling for Shui Meng to lower his voice. He's a fairy bird, not a chicken or a duck or a pig. You just saw him. Besides, he paused, smile fading, as he looked at Shui Meng with renewed seriousness. Why do I suddenly think you look rather like him? Shui Meng jumped like a cat whose tail had been trod on. He shook his head like a rattle drum. You're full of shit. He and I are nothing alike. We have nothing to do with each other. Now, Shui Meng. Protesting too much. As he's wont to do, though. Really? Mei Hunshui's green eyes darkened a fraction, his gaze inscrutable above his easy grin. I wonder what kind of bird you'd turn into if you lost to the scroll spirit. I realized he was asking if he would turn into a bird that was even remotely similar to Jeng Xi because he's kind of low-key thinking that they're related. However, why did this sound like a come-on? Somehow? Outside of the Mei Hunshui of it all? Suddenly, Shui Meng was certain that he absolutely, positively could not lose. Mei Hunshui would have no scruples about plucking out all his feathers and using them to bribe women. He, Shui Ziming, could not lose. Plucking out all his feathers is a way to put it. It was not only Shui Ziming who felt he had to ensure victory and avoid getting turned into a furry friend. All of Tao Estate's elders and disciples were of the same mind. This scroll spirit is an amalgamation of Shuizhang men and Mei Xianzhang's tastes, Elder Chen Shuyan said. If we have to appease it, you two should think carefully about your type. What kind of girl would make the scroll spirit fall in love at first sight? I mean, if we wanted to go for peak comedy, they just go as not themselves. They would disguise themselves as other dudes. Would be peak fucking comedy. But Shui Meng isn't that self-aware yet. Mei Hunshui laughed. I think every girl has her own special beauty. If the scroll spirit is so choosy, it's not because of me. He looked at Shui Meng. We must consult Shuizhang men for his advice. Like I said, not self-aware enough yet. Shui Meng was quiet for a moment. No! No, honey! The best woman in the world was my mom. Maddie got it right in the chat. The single gayest answer. Sweetie. The smile slid off Mei Hunshui's face. Below the teardrop-shaped ornament on his brow, those... Ooh, is it pellucid? Pellucid? Pellucid eyes flickered over Shui Meng's profile. Mei Hunshui sighed softly. He'd disguised himself as Miss S because he knew Shui Meng had been unhappy for some time. Although Shui Meng would sometimes bicker and rant as he had in the old days, the broken parts of his heart weren't so easily repaired. Mei Hunshui, as a gesture of friendship, had hoped to cheer him up a little and help him heal. But Shui Meng's wounds were very deep indeed. Mei Hunshui exhaled and raised a hand. That she was. Oh? How sensitive, insightful, and thoughtful of you. But Madame Wang is... Elder Chen Shuyan began awkwardly. Mei Hunshui cut him off. Think of something else, he said to Shui Meng. He knew that the rest of that sentence would have only made Shui Meng feel worse. More consideration. Ooh. There's no one else, Shui Meng finally said. No one's better than me. Oh, honey, you're setting yourself up. Take your time. It doesn't have to be a real person, said Mei Hunshui. We can use a disguise. Shui Meng started to think in earnest. After a long silence, he began to list his requirements. 1. Pale skin. Mm-hmm. 2. Big eyes. Okay. 3. She has to be uh, at least as, that guy, he said with a wry twist of his mouth. At least is pretty as Chimay. Oh, honey. Oh, you're so close, honey. Oh. Oh my god, torture. Everyone listened to Shui Meng's criteria in silence. We wonder why. At first, the elders wrote down each requirement, intending to think of a woman that would satisfy them. After he listed more than a dozen, however, they put their brushes down. Shui Meng wasn't looking for a woman, he was looking for a Buddha. Who but a truly enlightened being would have the magnanimity to tolerate Shui Ziming's ridiculously unrealistic standards? Thinking you don't want women because none of them are good enough? Not a completely unheard of queer rationalization, but certainly not the most common one. Was this really a 20-something-year-old man speaking? Did he have some kind of fundamental misunderstanding of women? And he was still going. 20, she has to sincerely admire me. 21, she has to be thrifty. No wasting soap when she does laundry. 22, all things in moderation. I don't want her to eat too much. 2 bowls of rice per meal at most. 23, I don't like powder or rouge on girls. It'd be best if she doesn't wear makeup. 24, she has to be pretty though. Naturally red lips, naturally fair skin, and naturally pink cheeks. 25, long legs. 26, she absolutely can't be taller than me. The entire assembly was trying not to roll their eyes or yawn. At last, a female disciple snapped, "Enough already," she shouted. "Good grief, you might as well take the moon and stars as your bride." Shui Meng crossed his arms and stared at her. "Nice work. You have my attention." In the past, this random cultivator would have had no problem arguing with Shui Meng, but now that he was a sect leader, things had changed. The disciple nervously licked her lips and shrank back. "Shui Zhengmen, my apologies. I was talking in my sleep just now," she whimpered. Shui Meng turned away. 27, he continued. "No sleep talking." The poor girl was dumbfounded. When Shui Meng reached the 370th requirement, Mei Hanshui cut him off. "Oh, honey. We knew you were gay after having, 5 requirements. You don't need to just keep telling people like this." The crowd let out a collective sigh of relief. If no one intervened, they feared sect leader Shui might keep talking through the night into the next morning. Even Mei Hanshui was visibly irked. Though his expression was as icy as ever, an irritated furrow had appeared between his brows. "You've said enough," Shui Ziming. "But I'm not done." Mei Hanshui didn't care. "Did you know the goddess Nua?" he asked coolly. Shui Meng blinked. "What?" "I thought you might have killed her with your endless nitpicking." Seeing that they were on the precipice of another squabble, Mei Hanshui raised his hand with an exasperated smile. Okay, calm down, both of you. Shui Meng, let me ask you this. Can you name a single person you wouldn't disdain, pick a fight with, or ditch without a second thought?" He paused, then turned to the crowd. Perhaps this is a lower bar to clear than Shui Zhongmen's potential wife. The listeners, bored to tears by the past 2 hours of Shui Meng's recitation, nodded fervently. Shui Meng glared at him. "Well, you certainly wouldn't qualify." "I don't believe, that was the actual question." sir. Mei Han Shui laughed good-naturedly. Understood. Shui Meng thought for a while, then straightened, eyes widening. He had managed to think of someone he didn't look down on at all. I got it, faster than I was expecting. My Shizun, Chu Waneng. One lady cultivator sat sleepily on the ground, hugging her knees as she drifted off. At this, she startled awake, hurrying to wipe away her drool. Huh? Who's expecting? Chu Zongshu's expecting? Any little opportunity she can take to just... I mean, if Tei Shenjin has anything to say about it. Her exclamation was met with silence. The cultivator looked up and collided with Shui Meng's vicious gaze. She hiccuped in fright, then curled into a ball and wriggled herself into the farthest corner of the room. We also found out what she was dreaming about. Ah! No! That's the end of the chapter. It did that thing. It did that thing where it... Oh, there's just a subtle difference where it basically just looks like a regular page. But it's not. It's the end of the... It's the end of the chapter. Oh, man. And we're just reading to chapter 18 today. Mother... Fuck. I know, however, and the reason why I won't like try to continue or anything like that, I know that we finish this bonus story on Thursday. I do know that from the way that they're all broken up and stuff. I know that Thursday we finish. It all has to round off in one way or another, and is all very much leading up to some form of attempting to seduce this scroll spirit through whatever means they determine. So, Jesus. Oh, wow. Again, the way Tuxedo has broken this up is truly diabolical. Because at the end of one stream, it feels dead certain that we know what will be happening by the end of this bonus story. And then the end of this stream, it's like, maybe she won't. Maybe she'll just be absolutely fucking heinous and not give it to us in this one, but the next one, you know? Give everyone the directly like Shui Meng focused bonus story first and have all of this happen first, and then withhold it, keep it just out of reach so that you think she didn't do it. She's not going to do it. And then somehow in the second one, in the other bonus story, the biggest one, you're like, actually, here you go. She is that cruel. Liv, you said there's a little extra chapter, though. I know that there's technically 3 bonus stories, and one of them is, like, really, really short. Is that what you're referring to? Or is there, like, specifically an extra chapter to this bonus story? The blind dating. Alhambra, says that, yeah, there's a single little bonus story before the next big one. That's where it comes in. Okay. And that Liv says that, yeah, that's what she was talking about. That is true. She could have just that one little solo chapter bonus story be the thing. That would be a way to do it. To not give it to us in one bonus story and then be like, jokes, here's the chapter you've all been waiting for. Yes, and before I go, thank you, Henry, for reminding me. Henry asked, so after the final Erha stream on the 7th, there will be no streams until July? Correct. Because June is Interview with the Vampire for me. And that is going to be like a big time-intensive deal. I am hoping to do Interview with the Vampire in a similar way that I did Heated Rivalry, that has like all the kind of extra bells and whistles and stuff. And so that is going to be really time intensive. And then, but during June is when we'll vote on the next series that we read. And then when we get into the part of July that doesn't have Interview with the Vampire, that's when we'll be coming back around to streams again. I had a plan to do a fun little reading stream surprise thing in June, and then the gay vampires decided to descend. So really, it's all Lestat's fault, and we should all be very, very angry at him. But that is the deal. After we finish with the last big stream on the 7th, then it will be a bit of a break for, I think it'll probably come out to a couple of months with no streams, but in the meantime, we'll have the vote. And then we'll come back with starting something brand new. It'll be a whole new frontier for the reading streams, which alone is terribly, terribly exciting. If it was anything other than, you know, big new season of something that is dropping an episode a week, then I would have figured out how to do the surprise June thing. But unfortunately, Henry asked what the surprise in June was going to be, and I am trying to do my best to not reveal things too early, because my problem is that I get really excited and I have the best of intentions, and then I say things which then commits me to those things, and then I have to figure out how to do those things even if it takes me a very long time. And that's one of the reasons why I tend to get backed up in my schedule so badly. So truly, as much as I would love to tell you, I can't. I cannot. But given that the next series that we read is going to be a 5-ish volumes, no matter what wins, it'll be around 5-ish volumes. Then I would imagine there would be just one break in the middle of that series. And in that break is when hopefully I will be able to take the opportunity to do that little 1 month-ish long thing. So it's not off the table, and maybe you'll hear about it one day. But if I say it, I'm on the hook. Alrighty. Am I forgetting anything else? I don't believe so. I already told you guys that it was May 7th is when we're having the last Erha stream. I'm just having to be very careful since I was knocked off the schedule today and everything got flung into chaos. I believe that's it. We finish this short story on Thursday, and I think we're good. We have, I haven't said it once this stream, so I will say it now. We have book chats on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about what we read in the previous stream. So on Thursday, we'll be talking about the madness that we read just now, going into whatever the fuck madness ends this bonus story on Thursday. What else, now that I have my wits about me, did I completely omit from the intro? There's an evergreen link down in the description box to the public version of the Gaywatch Discord server if you are of a mind to talk about more queer, like, bookish things. And I believe, actually, that's it. So, thank you so much for coming along today in the Bird Mayhem. That's the very short version of that story. I will be here in a couple of days to read the rest of the blind date adventures of Shui Meng. And we are hoping with far-flung hopes that he gets double-teamed in the way in which he deserves after all of this. And I hope you're having a good week. I hope the week continues to treat you well. And I will see you on Thursday. And in the meantime, please remember to take care of yourself.